Hello and welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host, and we're talking to one of our favorite guests, Michael Schostak, Bloomfield Township trustee. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Chuck. Good to be with you today.
Good to see you. So it's obviously shirt with no tie. I guess that's a new uniform. Here's my question: what's going on with Bloomfield Township?
A lot of things are going on with Bloomfield Township that I think we can talk about. We had a big issue with MDOT and I-75. We just finished our budget process. We just finished our water and sewer rate process. We have some money from ARPA, the American Relief Act, that came out because of the COVID. So a lot of interesting things, and happy to discuss any of them.
Okay, well let's lead off with I-75 and Square Lake. I'm someone who uses that area all the time. Whether, sometimes I go south to Adams Road to my house. Sometimes I go into Woodward or get off at Opdyke. What's going on with that?
So MDOT decided that that interchange, the Square Lake Updike interchange of going out to I-75, what they call the Business Loop 75, that's going to be slated for reconstruction here in the next couple of years. And as part of that process, MDOT, in their wisdom, decided that there's an additional entrance ramp off of Square Lake Road, just west of Updike, that they wanted to completely remove. And so that the only way you'd be able to get onto I-75 is from the business loop, which is back where Woodward is. So you'd have to go back to Woodward essentially to turn around and get onto I-75 that way. And we in the township, led by our supervisor, Danny Walsh, as well as the rest of our board, complained to MDOT and told them that they were being very short-sighted in removing that interchange. That would force a lot of drivers to have to go completely out of their way back to Square Lake if they're coming from Updike or Troy or anything like that, as well as the people who live in that Hugh Hills community. And so we convinced MDOT, as part of their process, that they should have a town hall and let residents come and speak about it. And we had a town hall a few weeks ago, and suffice it to say that MDOT was completely overwhelmed with the feedback that they got, in a negative way, of course, about their proposed plan. And it basically caused them to reconsider the whole thing. And they are currently back at the drawing board, deciding how they want to repurpose that ramp and potentially keep it in place. But I think what was important is that, residents of the township and nearby areas, Troy and Auburn Hills, were very upset about the removal of that entrance ramp. And, in the end, it looks like we got MDOT to agree that they needed to keep it.
Well, I've been to some MDOT town halls that have been like lynch mobs back in the days of Gloria Jeff,
Yeah.
But, now that one was famous, but the bottom line is that, okay, so let me try to understand this. Okay. If they eliminate Square Lake, the Opdyke, basically Opdyke, Square Lake, and I-75, then the only places you're going to be able to get on are Woodward Avenue,
yep,
and Adams Road.
Right.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Square Lake Road doesn't really go through to Woodward anymore. I mean, without going through neighborhoods and down to Long Lake and all that, if you live there, and I basically do. So what were they trying to accomplish?
I mean, they said that they wanted to enlarge the ramps, and the way that they are designing the business loop ramp required them to add a lane, and then there wouldn't be enough room, according to their, as I understand it, from that existing ramp to get onto the new designed business loop 75, there wouldn't be enough merge space or merge room, so that it would be too small of a merge, and then that could potentially lead to problems with traffic, cars hitting each other, trying to merge. They have a certain metric that they use for how long the merge lane should be when you have two lanes like that coming together. And so they said, well, let's just eliminate that ramp and make everybody go either to Woodward or, like you said, go up Adams and catch it up a little further up. And so
And it's not like I know south of the freeway, it's all residential. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really very residential.
Yep.
North of the freeway, it's well, former industrial. You've got the Marriott, you've got all the hotels, you've got a lot of, and then it keeps getting. It's like a big wide river going that way. And I just they decided just to bag it. And I don't even know how you easily get from, say, Opdyke over to Woodward, except going down Long Lake, which is not set up for a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
Not to mention the railroad bridge. Now, you take Adams Road south, you go near my house, and that's what we need is more traffic coming into downtown Birmingham. Nonsense. Well, I'm glad that they saw reason. I know that they're looking at weird things on other MDOT. It's just sort of off the wall. Is that M1 goes through Bloomfield Township, and once it gets north of Birmingham, it turns into quite a highway. But south of, they're talking about road diets and Ferndale. Good luck with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you looking at anything like that? Please tell me you're not.
No, we haven't heard anything. As a township, we don't own or have any dominion over the roads. It's either the county or MDOT for the larger trunks. And so, we get notified when there's things under consideration or plans that they're going to do, like when they were going to move forward with this I-75 ramp reconstruction. And they asked us for feedback. We gave them feedback that that it was getting rid of that entrance ramp was going to be problematic. They chose to move forward anyway. They went to the town hall and they got beaten back pretty hard. We're not aware of any other major MDOT construction projects in the township right now. We have a project on Long Lake Road, just east of Franklin, kind of near Kirk in the Hills. We're going to do a resurfacing of that area sometime this summer. The county does the actual work, or they let the contract to do that work. But we had a major sewer repair project that we did there last fall, and so right now the road's a little bumpy. We're just waiting for to get into the queue for the contractors to come and resurface that area. But other than that, we don't have a lot of road construction.
Well, that's good to know, because I use that a bit, and so it's going to be closed Long Lake, basically around the Kirk, for how long?
I don't know how long it's going to be. I think maybe a few weeks. Just like it was closed last fall for the actual construction of the sewer. But we'll let everyone know and give them notice, and then it'll be closed again for a short period of time.
Well, I do know that Michigan's entire economy depends on us rebuilding telegraph every 3 to 4 years somewhere. So yeah, good.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about telegraph that I'm aware of.
Well, speaking of telegraph, that's a real hot area up north, by the way. That is really I guess Bloomfield Park is finally getting built out in a reasonable fashion. Is that township now? I mean, I forget where the line was drawn during the controversy. Yeah.
So most of that area where Bloomfield Park is was annexed into Pontiac. We still have, if you look at to the south of the southernmost tip of the project, there's a little strip center there. That's still technically in the township, but the rest of the Bloomfield Park area was annexed into Pontiac. We do have an agreement under Act 425 where we can take 3 mills in property taxes on that area, and so we do collect that. But yes, it's pretty well built out already. You got the Menards, you got a couple of strips in there. You've got the hotel, you've got the Planet Fitness, and then to the back of it, closer to Franklin Road, you've got the residential component multifamily. But yes, it's really come together really nicely. It's a good area. We have very little problem with anything going on there, and so we're obviously very pleased how that turned out.
Well, you also have the beating heart of the Birmingham Bloomfield community, which is the Costco at Square Lake, and I mean, you see everybody there. Everybody there. It's amazing. So now you guys just did a budget, and believe me, compared to the federal government should be taking lessons from you guys.
Yeah. Well, we completed our budget process back in March, and we once again have a balanced budget like we do every year, with some cushion room built in for anything unexpected. This is the first year, we passed back in 2021. We passed a millage renewal and increase for public safety. And we're very pleased that the community, continued to show faith in us and grant us that millage increase. And we're going to be using that for police and fire. We're slated to hire 4 or 5 new police officers and 3 or 4 new firefighters and EMTs. And that'll give us some flexibility around our planning and scheduling of our public safety officials. And so that's going into effect this year. And we're real excited about that. We've been operating for the last 5 to 10 years, sort of one shift down in each police and fire. And that's led to some overtime. That's led to some burnout. So getting these additional headcount will be really, really beneficial for our public safety services.
Well, you're still at what, AAA rated, bond rated community?
Yes, we are a AAA bond rated community, one of the few in the state of Michigan. Your stopping grounds, Birmingham, is another one, but we are a AAA rated community, and we have the lowest borrowing costs, which helps our residents, because when we do, let's say, a special assessment district for a road reconstruction project or a sewer project, we can borrow at really attractive rates, and we pass that on to our residents when they do one of those special assessment districts.
Well, I know Brooks Patterson, I think he had it tattooed on his wrist here, whatever. Hi, I'm Brooks, AAA bond rating community.
Yep.
And back in those days, of course, that was probably one of the chief boasts of the Patterson administration. We're going to run out of time real quick, but spending the ARPA federal buckos, spending now, well, it's still worth something.
Yeah. So under the American Recovery Plan Act, ARPA, several millions of dollars went to local communities to help recover from the extra spending and the extra strain during the COVID pandemic. As a township, we did not get as much as cities get, but we did get a little over $4 million in ARPA funds. We have received those funds. We've just been, letting them collect interest right now. We went through a process internally. We, brainstormed various projects that we could use those funds for, and we sought public opinion. We did a survey of our community and have been posting about public hearings that we've held. We've had 2 public hearings about it, 2 town halls, I should say. They're not official public hearings, just town halls. And, in the end, we have until the end of 24 to obligate those funds, and then the end of 2026 to actually spend and disperse those funds. Otherwise, the feds can come and claw it back. But we had just a couple meetings ago where we went through all of the things that we've identified, from a new, ladder truck for the fire department. That cost about $1.7 million. And we are getting some new technology for our offices. So we're getting, new high-tech phones, document retention system. We're putting in some additional disaster recovery and continuity of government things that, things that like that those are very important.
Those are all great things.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we're going to have to take a break here, and
Sure.
we'll come right back. We'll come back into this and maybe a couple more questions from the ARPA money. We're talking with Michael Schostak, Bloomfield Township trustee. I'm Chuck Moss. Don't go away. We'll be right back here on Eye on Oakland. Welcome back to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host, and we have a great guest, Michael Schostak, Bloomfield Township trustee. And we were just talking about the township and its budget. They were all the things they're spending the ARPA money on, and I said spend it while it's still worth something. So I'm going to ask: we obviously are in now an inflationary period. You can't deny it. Is that cost rising, putting pressure on your budget, having effects on it?
Well, so it's interesting. We actually are not so disadvantaged because of inflation. As you may recall, several years ago, our workforce unionized. And so we negotiated 6-year labor agreements. And in those labor agreements, we locked in what the escalations were going to be each year. And so we're at about between some years are 2%, some years are 3%. So, obviously people are our largest budget item. And so we were able to cap those for the next, we're now 3 years into the contract, so it'll be 3 more years. So that helps us weather this inflationary period. Obviously, construction projects, everything related to, gas and construction, sewer projects, things like that, that's all gone up significantly. Healthcare has gone up significantly. We are self-insured. And so we think we've managed to contain costs as best we can, but obviously we are susceptible to cost increases there. And, on the flip side, on the revenue side, under Michigan's Prop A and Headley, taxable values on people's homes and businesses, I guess, they go up by the lesser of 5% or the rate of inflation. So for the last, umpteen years, we've seen taxable values rise by 1%, less than 1%, 1.5%, something like that. And now because of the inflationary environment that we're in, the taxable values are going to go up by 5% because
by the full 5.
Yeah, the full 5 because inflation is. And so, as we sat down to work on our budget, I said, people are going to get hit with a much larger tax bill this year, even though we're not increasing rates. It's just that their taxable values are going up. And so I want us to, to think about that. And next year, when we go through our budgeting process again, reevaluate, what we can do to cut some costs and try to alleviate that for folks, because I think it's very likely that next year we could see another 5% increase. Right now inflation is, abating a little bit, but it's not, I don't know that it's going to drop too much below 5%. So I think we're going to, people's taxable values are still going to go up. And of course, we have a lot of new construction going on in the township right now. So, homes that, were worth 300,000, they're building and, they're worth 900,000. And so we're seeing, a big increase from that as well. And so, we've been, using our resources to pay down debt. We have some pension debt as well as some OPEB, the other post-employment benefits, the healthcare, retiree healthcare. We've been paying down that debt with some of our funds. And so we're being more prudent so that over the course of the next decade, we're going to find ourselves in an even stronger financial position than we were just a few years ago. And so we still have that AAA bond rating, as you mentioned. And so, our debt is fully within our control, but we are, spending a fair amount of money paying down debt as well.
Well, that's now's the time to do it and to use that money for that. This is a good thing. Now, I have a question. This has kind of been a bugaboo of mine, is that since COVID and the work from home, there's been a lot of concern about office space and office space vacancies. Like Birmingham, Bloomfield Township has a lot of office. Are you seeing any, vacancies? Just saw a thing this morning about San Francisco and New York. Now, granted, they have crime and, shall we say, quality of life is a euphemism for the crime, but Township doesn't have that. But are you seeing vacancy issues with the office?
Nothing that we have, that has been brought to our attention. Nobody's tried to repurpose an office building or anything like that. I can't speak to what the vacancy rates are in some of our office. We've got some office buildings up and down Woodward and some on Telegraph. But I can't speak to what that is, but no one's come to us and said, hey, we need some recovery on our taxes, or we want to repurpose this building. Nothing like that. Office is not a huge component of our footprint. We're about 94% residential. So, between the retail and a slight industrial up off of Franklin Road, and then the office, that rounds it out. But no, we haven't seen any major impacts.
You've got industrial on Franklin Road. Where?
North of Square Lake.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right behind the Costco.
That's right. Okay.
Like the Detroit Skating Club. It's nothing major. I mean, we don't have we don't have a auto plant or anything.
I was going to say, you got a foundry there? I didn't think so.
No, yeah. Light industrial.
Okay. Yeah. Now you're right. Okay. It's amazing. You drive by these things every day and you forget. Yeah. All right. Now, speaking, we were talking various into infrastructure, water and sewer. What's going on with that?
So we just completed our water and sewer rate setting process just a few weeks ago. And for the last couple of years, we've been going through a process change as to how we make the rates with water and sewer. And, I think there's been some noise lately about some of the processes and how we've changed it. The way we set the rates now is we have a fixed component and a variable component. The variable component is based on your consumption, and the fixed component is allocated based on the size of your service line and your meter. Those with larger service lines and larger meters, they can get a much stronger flow. We charge them a little bit more than somebody who's got a smaller meter, let's say a 5/8 inch or a 3/4 inch versus a 1 or 1.5 inch pipe. And of course, we have some of our users that go up to 6 inches. Think of the Lifetime Gym or the Costco. Right. But we have a difficult time. We want to pass on those costs. Of course, we don't try to make any money. Even though it's called an enterprise fund, we don't actually try to make money. But we have to allocate our costs. And unfortunately, what people don't realize is that more than 80% of our water and sewer budget are fixed costs. It's fixed costs for the Water Resources Commissioner for our sewage treatment. It's fixed costs from the Great Lakes Water Authority for most of our water, our infrastructure within the township. We've got repairs, all of our labor costs for employees of the water and sewer system. So the vast majority of it is fixed. Now, that does not give us the ability to charge variable rates to our customers, because we'd have to basically make a guess, an estimate as to how much we would sell to figure out the rate. And if we did not calculate that number correctly, if we overestimated how much water we would sell and we don't recoup that revenue, then we're not going to be able to cover the costs of the system and the money that we have to pay out. So that forces us to, and several other communities, many other communities, in fact, to have a fixed component to the bill. And how that fixed component gets allocated, we decided 2 years ago to switch to the meter size and pipe size methodology, which is the one recommended by the American Water Works Association. So some folks that have larger pipe sizes are not so happy because they're paying a little bit larger. Now that's typically your bigger houses, people that need bigger service in their house to maintain pressure. And so that has been some of the feedback that we've received, but we'd like to get to the point where we can charge fully on consumption. And we're putting in new smart meters to help us get data. And we're looking at all, strategies to be able to cover our costs and, potentially become a member of the South Oakland County Water Authority, which is SACWA, they are in fact a customer of GLEWA, the Great Lakes Water Authority, which used to be the Detroit Water and Sewer Department. And so we would need to install some storage capabilities. We're looking into that. We're looking into, what we would need to pay to become a member, which could bring down our cost structure as well. So that's the story.
While we're on the subject of GLEWA, Great Lakes Water Authority, which replaced the old corrupt Detroit Water and Sewer out of the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
First of all, Highland Park has been, they've been basically getting it for free because they won't pay their bills. Any idea on, has there been any resolution on that? When I was at the county, we tried to at least get a resolution through, which we did. And Highland Park just, said, so that's it. Any rebates or anything for the way we've been subsidizing Highland Park?
Yeah, I think the South Oakland County Water Authority has basically said we're not going to pay for their portion of the bill, because I think it was levied as a separate assessment on those communities that that are customers of GLEWA. But I also know that Highland Park has lobbied vociferously to the state of Michigan and Governor Whitmer to get some relief because they just can't. It would bankrupt them, and it would force them into bankruptcy. They can't pay it at this point. The bill's gotten so large. And I do believe that there has been some discussion in the legislature in Lansing to allocate some amount of money to go to GLEWA to help cover that debt.
Well, they're going to have to go bankrupt or financial manager or something. I mean,
Yep.
The city, God bless them. It's kind of a bad zone. I don't know if they have any productive capacity left to it.
Yeah. Well, what was frustrating for a lot of communities in Oakland and Macomb and Western Wayne County is that Highland Park was charging its residents for their water usage and then just not paying GLEWA.
Yeah.
They were collecting the revenue and not paying the expenses. And so, that was kind of frustrating. It's not like they've been giving free water.
No, although when I was, once again, up until the end of last year, I was a county commissioner, and we brought, it was my resolution to call upon Highland Park to either pay its money or us not to pay them. And, they were crying. Oh, it's not their fault. And they are technically, they're bankrupt. If they were a community, or if they were a business, they'd be in receivership long ago.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go. I don't see the legislature wanting to tax people in Ontonagon and Flint and Grand Rapids and wherever else, Traverse City, to pay Highland Park. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Real quick, we're going to run out of time. But what else? What else you got on your plate?
I completed my term as administrative vice chair of the Michigan Republican Party, and that was a very interesting learning process. And so, I stepped down. I didn't seek reelection. As you know, there's been some changes up at the.
Well, I could tell you that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But no, I mean, we're. The township is moving right along. We talked about the ARPA funds that's been in, a process that we've been working on. It
seems like the township's out of the news right now. When Birmingham is quiet, the township is in the news. When township is quiet, Birmingham is in the news from some.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, we actually we look at it as when we're not in the news, but the school district is in the news. So people still think it's us. So, I mean, I get people come up to me and say, "Oh, what are you going to do about the school district?" I don't have any jurisdiction over the school district.
No.
The school district has a school board that's elected by the people, and they operate as a completely independent governmental entity. And so, we don't have any say or control, and we collect their taxes. That's about the extent of it.
I know that is, that it's the schools. I guess that's got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
To talk to the school board. Well, thanks for talking to us. Michael Schostak, Bloomfield Township trustee. And sounds like all's good at the township, and that's good for all of us. I'm Chuck Moss, and thank you for joining us here on Eye on Oakland.